You're sure that you see reality, sure that you notice what matters, sure that if something happens right in front of you, you won't miss it. Bad news. Your brain lies to you constantly, calmly, without malicious intent. And it does this even when you know it's lying. Because this is how a normal human brain is built.
No! God, please, no! No!
But don't get discouraged right away. Let's agree on one thing up front. This video isn't about you being naive, not about you thinking wrong, and not about you being easy to fool. This is about how a normal human brain works, the same kind of brain you have, I have, and everyone else has. If your brain showed you reality exactly as it is, with no simplifications, no filters, no guesses or assumptions, you wouldn't become smarter or more objective. You would simply stop functioning normalno. There's too much information, too many signals, too much uncertainty to process in real time. The brain solves this problem radically. It doesn't try to be perfectly accurate. It tries to be fast and reliable enough for survival. That's why it simplifies the world, fills in missing details, filters out most incoming information, and sometimes it lies. Not to deceive you, but so you can actually navigate what's happening and make decisions without freezing at every step. It seems obvious that vision is the most reliable way to understand what's happening around you. After all, your eyes simply show you the world as it is. But in reality, you don't see the world directly. You see a prediction, the version of reality your brain currently considers most likely. Your eyes don't send a finished image to the brain. They send fragmented signals, patches of light, contrast, motion, sudden changes in brightness. This data is incomplete and disjointed. On its own, it's impossible to assemble a detailed and accurate picture from it. So the brain does what it does best. It doesn't wait for complete information. It forms a hypothesis. This is probably what I'm seeing. And then it shows you the result of that hypothesis. A classic example is the blind spot. In each eye, there is a region of the retina where the optic nerve exits. There are no photoreceptors there at all. Physically, no visual information comes from that area. And you never notice it. Not because the blind spot is small, but because the brain automatically fills in the missing image using surrounding context and past experience. The same thing happens with visual illusions. Lines of equal length appear different. Colors don't look the way they physically are. Motionless objects seem to move. And here's the part that breaks intuition. Even if you're told exactly how an illusion works, even if the mechanism is explained step by step, even if you're shown a diagram, the illusion doesn't disappear. You can understand that you're seeing something incorrectly and still continue to see it that way. This matters. An illusion is not a system failure. An illusion is proof that the system is working exactly as designed. The visual system is not optimized for truth. It's optimized for speed and stability. Its job is to quickly produce a usable version of what's happening, not a perfectly accurate one. That's why knowing about an illusion doesn't turn it off, because perception happens before thinking. First, you see. Only then do you start thinking about what it is you saw. At this point, hope usually appears. People often say, if you become more mindful, you'll stop making mistakes. As if the problem were that you're not paying close enough attention to yourself. No, the problem is when consciousness enters the process. Most decisions in the brain are made before you ever experience a sense of choice. First, incoming information is processed. First, a reaction, an evaluation, or an interpretation is formed, and only then do you become aware of it. Consciousness doesn't participate in making the decision. It learns about the decision after the fact. When it feels like you made a conscious choice, what actually happened is that you became aware of a finished outcome and then constructed an explanation for it, one that feels logical and coherent. This isn't limited to emotions or impulsive actions. It applies to perception, to attention, and to how you interpret what's happening right now. Consciousness doesn't see the decision-making process itself. It only sees the result and works with what has already happened. That's why mindfulness can't turn off visual illusions, can't prevent attentional errors, and can't intervene at the moment when the brain has already chosen a version of reality. In short, it can be put like this. Mindfulness is a commentary track on a film, sometimes useful, sometimes insightful, but it's not the director and it's not the camera operator. The film has already been made. You're simply watching it and trying to understand why things unfolded the way they did. There is a very persistent feeling that you personally decide what you pay attention to. It feels like attention works like a spotlight. Wherever you point it, that's what you see. And if something is truly important, you're sure you would notice it. That feeling is false. In reality, you have very little control over attention. The control happens before you. Attention is an automatic filter that the brain configures without your involvement. It decides what matters right now and what doesn't need to be processed at all. When you're focused on a task, the brain doesn't carefully divide attention between objects. It makes a radical decision. This matters, everything else does not. And it doesn't just lower the priority of secondary information, it can stop processing it entirely. This is where inattentional blindness comes from. You can fail to notice an object that is directly in front of your eyes, moving and obvious to an outside observer. And here's the most unpleasant part. You don't realize that you missed something. There's no feeling of loss, no alarm signal. There is only the confidence, I definitely would have noticed if it were there. That confidence is an illusion. You don't see what you don't expect to see, even if it's right in front of your eyes. The brain shows you an already filtered version of what's happening and presents it as a complete and continuous world. And that's why the subjective feeling, I saw everything, proves absolutely nothing. When it comes to memory, there's a strong feeling that it works like a recording, as if there were a file somewhere in your head that you can open and replay to see how things really happened. That feeling is wrong. Memory is not a recording. Memory is a reconstruction. When you remember something, you don't retrieve a finished memory. You assemble a new version of the event from fragments, emotions, context, and expectations. And here's the key point. Every time you remember an event, you change it. Not deliberately, not intentionally, simply because the brain fills in missing details to make the story feel coherent and logical. What shapes a memory includes your current mood, new knowledge, other people's stories, and even who you believe yourself to be right now. So over time, memory isn't preserved, it's rewritten. And this is where a dangerous trap appears. The more often you recall an event, the more confident you become that you remember it correctly. But confidence in a memory has almost no relationship to its accuracy. The brain can very convincingly add details that were never there and remove those that don't fit the overall narrative. So a strange situation becomes possible. You can be 100% certain and at the same time 100% wrong. And the most uncomfortable part is this. You don't feel the difference between an accurate memory and a well-constructed one. After all this, it's easy to draw the wrong conclusion, that the brain is bad, that it distorts reality, that it can't be trusted. That's a mistake. The brain is not optimized for truth. It's optimized for survival. Truth is expensive. It requires time, verification, doubt, and revision. And time is the most valuable resource in any biological system. That's why the brain almost always chooses speed over accuracy, prediction over verification, simplicity over truth. If something moves in the bushes, from a survival standpoint, it's better to be wrong than to stop and analyze for too long. A false alarm is cheap. A missed threat is fatal. That's why the brain constantly builds hypotheses about the world and acts as if they are true. It doesn't wait for confirmation. It checks after acting, if there's time left. The same applies to perception, attention, and memory. A fast, coherent, understandable version of the world is far more useful for survival than one that is accurate but slow and internally contradictory. The brain is not trying to show you how things really are. It's trying to give you a model that is good enough so you can act right now. And from an evolutionary perspective, this is not a flaw. It's an optimal solution. Truth is expensive. Error is cheap. And that's why the brain chooses to be wrong quickly, rather than to doubt for too long. The honest answer here is fairly simple and not very pleasant. Completely, no. You can't stop making mistakes. You can't turn off distortions of perception, attention, and memory. You can't force the brain to show reality exactly as it is. And it's important to accept this up front so you don't hold on to false expectations. But that doesn't mean you can't do anything at all. You can reduce the damage. The first and most important step is to stop automatically trusting your first impression when something serious is at stake. Not in everyday trivial matters, not in familiar situations, but in cases where a mistake actually has a cost. Second, you need to understand where the brain is especially unreliable. It works very well in familiar environments, with fast reactions and simple tasks. But it systematically fails with probabilities, rare events, complex systems, and self-evaluation. And third, important decisions should be taken outside of immediate feelings. Give them time. Check them against data. Expose them to external criticism. Revisit them more than once. Not because you're weak, but because that's how the system works. You can't turn off the bug, but you can stop treating it like a superpower. If you put everything we've talked about together, the picture that emerges is uncomfortable, but honest. Vision doesn't show you the world directly. It shows you a guess, the version that seems most likely. Attention doesn't capture everything that matters. It decides what is even allowed to enter consciousness. Memory doesn't store the past. It reconstructs it anew each time. And yet all of this feels like a direct, reliable, and objective connection to reality. Because of that, it's easy to draw the wrong conclusion, that when mistakes happen, something must be wrong with you. But that's not true. You're not stupid. You're not naive. You're not broken. You're simply carrying a device in your head that creates a convenient, coherent, and functional version of reality, not an accurate one. And here's the most important part. The more confident you are that you see the world objectively, that you're just looking and understanding things as they are, the less reason the brain has to restrain itself. And the more aggressively it simplifies, fills in gaps, and replaces a complex reality with a comprehensible one. The most dangerous illusion is not visual and not cognitive. The most dangerous illusion is the belief that you are objective,